The message sent by the Tekor had shocked the galaxy. It wasn't a simple warning, a cry for help, or a plea for unity. It was a cryptic declaration of impending change. Humans are coming. They are preparing. You are not ready. No one could fully comprehend what the Tekor meant. Some races dismissed it outright, thinking it a simple overreaction from a race too old and too cautious for their own good. Others believed it to be a moment of rare panic, a momentary lapse in their usually impeccable foresight. But the more the galaxy tried to ignore the warning, the more the sense of dread grew. Humanity, once a mere footnote in the vast expanse of galactic history, had quietly grown into something far more potent than the universe had anticipated. They were not like the other species of the galaxy. They did not rely on the same technologies, nor did they follow the same codes of conduct. Where other races rested on the laurels of their advanced civilizations and deep-rooted wisdom, humans had something different, a relentless drive for survival. From the moment they first emerged from their home planet, Earth, they had fought, adapted, and evolved. It was something in their nature. Survival, at all costs, was hardwired into their very existence. When the first human emissary arrived on Iridia, it was a moment of quiet anticipation. The Irians, with their serene and peaceful way of life, had long been known for their love of art, philosophy, and beauty. Their way of life had been free of war for millennia, relying instead on dialogue, understanding, and the cultivation of knowledge. To the Irians, conflict was a thing of the past, a barbaric relic of long-forgotten civilizations. They had worked hard to forge a society where peace reigned and the pursuit of higher ideals was paramount. She was human, yes, but she was something more. She was the embodiment of everything humanity had worked for, fought for, and become. She was a survivor, and she had come with a purpose. Reinhardt greeted the Irians with a calm, measured tone. "I come in peace, but I come with a warning. The galaxy does not understand what it is about to face." The Irians were polite but wary, unsure of what to make of the human emissary. As she spoke, she explained that the time had come for humanity to leave its mark on the galaxy. They had endured hardship after hardship, struggled against odds that would have crushed any other species. They had learned that survival was not a passive endeavor. It was active. It was something they had taught their children from the very moment they could walk. The galaxy needed to understand this. Humanity was not just a species of peacekeepers. They were, at their core, fighters. Their children were raised to face the brutal truth of the universe and to learn how to adapt, to think strategically, and to survive, no matter the cost. A simple data cube was placed on the table before the Irians. The holographic display flickered to life, and a young human girl appeared, no older than 8 years. The Irians watched in stunned silence as she stood in front of a training facility, her small frame clothed in basic combat gear. She spoke with an emotionless, yet eerily determined voice. "This is how I protect my people. I am 8 years old. I am learning how to fight. I am learning how to survive." The girl raised a weapon, an assault rifle, and fired it with deadly precision. The targets downrange were struck one by one, each hit a testament to the years of training she had undergone. The Irians continued to watch in silence as the girl then engaged in hand-to-hand combat, her small but agile form moving fluidly with the precision of a soldier many times her age. Then the transmission shifted again, showing the girl engaged in complex mental exercises, calculating strategies and tactics as if it were second nature to her. The Irians were unnerved by what they saw. What kind of species would teach their children to fight so early, to engage in combat at such a young age? The image of a child, no older than a mere infant in terms of galactic lifespans, engaging in such mature and calculated behavior, disturbed the Irians to their core. To them, the idea of young minds being trained for violence was incomprehensible. They had no such need for it. They had never known war, never known strife. They had built their civilization on the foundation of peace, creativity, and the pursuit of knowledge. "Why do you teach your children to fight?" an elder Yerian asked, his voice trembling with confusion. "Why not teach them peace, as we have? Why not show them the beauty of the universe instead of this violence?" Reinhardt's face remained calm, but there was a flicker of something darker in her eyes. "Because we were not given the luxury of peace. We did not grow up in a world where beauty alone would protect us. On Earth we learned that to survive we had to fight. We had to adapt. We had to make our children ready for whatever the universe might throw at them." She took a breath, and the Irians could feel the weight of her words. The galaxy has no idea what it means to survive, to truly survive. It has no idea how brutal the universe can be. You live in your tranquil cities, in your pristine worlds, where conflict is a thing of the past. But the truth is, you are not ready. None of you are. When the humans come, you will understand why we train our young. The room fell into silence. The Irians could not deny the truth in Reinhardt's words. They had never considered that their way of life might not be sustainable in a universe so vast, so unforgiving. They had never faced the kind of hardship that the humans had endured. They had never fought for their survival the way humanity had. The Irians were a peaceful people, yes, but they were also naive. They had believed that peace was enough to keep them safe. But now, faced with the reality of humanity's unyielding will to survive, they understood that their beliefs might have been nothing more than a fragile illusion. "We are not like you," Reinhardt said, her voice soft but unyielding. "We are not like any species you've encountered before. We have learned to survive, not through peace, but through struggle, through training, through hardship, and now you will see what that means." The transmission ended, and the Irians were left to ponder what they had just witnessed. They had been shaken to their core. They had spent centuries perfecting the art of peace, but now they realized that they were ill-prepared for the harsh realities of the galaxy. What the humans had shown them was a reality they had never even considered. That peace alone was not enough, that to survive, to thrive, in this galaxy, you needed more than just beauty, more than just knowledge. You needed strength, resilience, and the ability to fight back when everything else failed. You must rise above despair, to fight against the odds. And that's what Geordi did. As the Irians struggled to come to terms with the implications of Captain Reinhardt's message, the rest of the galaxy was beginning to feel the tremors of change. The Tekor, ever watchful, continued to warn of the coming storm. But now others were beginning to take notice. The other races, those who had been complacent in their own security, were beginning to question their assumptions. The humans were coming, and they had prepared in ways the galaxy had never anticipated. It was not just the Irians who were unprepared. The Zarnets, with their vast fleets and superior technology, had never considered humanity a threat. The Irians were right to laugh at the idea of a primitive species like humans standing on the edge of galactic war. But now, they were beginning to see things differently. There was something about the humans that made them different from all the other species they had encountered, something that made them more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. The Zarnets began to make their own preparations. The Tekor's warnings echoed in their minds, and they realized that they might have underestimated humanity. They began to shift their focus, to think beyond their advanced weaponry, and to reconsider their long-standing belief that technology alone could guarantee survival. And so, across the galaxy, a quiet tension began to build. The arrival of the humans was not just a diplomatic mission, nor was it a casual visit to the galactic table. It was the beginning of something far more profound, The humans had arrived, and they had come with a warning. The galaxy was not ready for what was to come. As the humans began to show their presence, the rest of the galaxy would learn the lesson they had been warned about. The lesson that, no matter how beautiful or peaceful a society might seem, the true measure of its strength lay not in its history or its knowledge, but in its ability to survive when the galaxy itself was at war. Humanity had learned this lesson the hard way, and now it was time for the galaxy to learn it too. The galaxy had known peace for eons. The great empires, ancient and wise, drifted in their silent, unchallenged dominance, maintaining a delicate balance of power that no force could threaten. The Takor, the oldest and most revered race in the galaxy, had long stood as neutral diplomats, their vast intellect and ability to see into the future making them the silent guardians of peace. Their technology was far beyond the comprehension of most, and their knowledge of the universe was unparalleled. To the Takor, peace was an inevitability. For them, the galaxy's future was already written. But one day, everything changed. The first indication of a shift came not from the usual political upheavals, nor from the stirrings of war between the lesser races. No, it came from an unusual transmission. It was short, brief even, but it carried a weight far greater than its few words. The transmission was sent across every major star system, encrypted with the highest security protocols the galaxy had ever seen. The message was from the Takor. Humans are coming, they are preparing, you are not ready. At first it was met with confusion. The galaxy had heard of humans, an upstart species from a tiny, insignificant planet on the edge of the Milky Way. They were barely even part of galactic affairs. Their technology was rudimentary, their ships sluggish and slow, their weapons crude compared to the advanced weaponry of the starfaring civilizations. Humanity had only recently begun their tentative steps into space travel, and their existence seemed almost irrelevant to the galaxy's greater conflicts. But the Takor were not a race that made mistakes. Their warnings sent ripples through the galaxy. For decades, the Takor had studied humanity, watching them from the shadows, trying to understand them, trying to find the source of the unease that had begun to grow in their hearts. They had noticed something unsettling, something that all the other species had missed. Humans trained their young, and they trained them in ways that no other race in the galaxy did. It wasn't just a matter of education or learning. Humans were preparing their children for something. It wasn't just survival, it was combat, it was conflict. It was the act of forcing their young to be strong, to be capable, to fight. From the moment they could walk, children were taught not just to read or write, but to survive, to fight, to think strategically. The Takor had seen it in their records, seen the evidence in human culture, and they knew it meant something dangerous. In every corner of the galaxy, the response was the same: confusion, denial, and then, eventually, a creeping sense of fear. The Arians, one of the galaxy's most peaceful and advanced species, were among the first to react. They had always lived in harmony with the universe, believing in the power of philosophy and art over war and strife. Their cities were built with flowing rivers and towering spires, their lives dedicated to music and beauty. To the Arians, the idea of preparing young children for war was incomprehensible. But on that day, everything changed. The Arians received a visitor, an ambassador from Earth, a representative of the humans. Her name was Captain Ava Reinhardt, a woman whose mere presence seemed to radiate a sense of calm, yet there was an unmistakable edge to her, something sharp, something that hinted at the darkness lurking beneath her composed exterior. She was the leader of a small fleet of human ships, the first wave of humanity's exploration into the greater galaxy. The Arians were skeptical of her at first, but they were eager to hear what she had to say. "Greetings, honored Arians," Captain Reinhardt said, her voice smooth and composed, though with a firmness that belied her calm demeanor. I come in peace, on behalf of the people of Earth. I bring with me a message." The Irians, though curious, were reserved. What could humans want with them? They had only recently made contact with the galaxy, and they were a species still learning to navigate the vast expanse of the universe. The Irians had little reason to believe that the humans could offer anything of value. Reinhardt held out a small, unassuming data cube and placed it before the Irian delegation. "This is a transmission from Earth. Watch it," she said simply. The Irians exchanged uncertain glances. The cube was inserted into their console, and within seconds, the image of a young human child appeared on the holographic display. The child, no older than 8, was standing in front of what appeared to be a firing range. She was clad in basic combat gear. Nothing extravagant, just simple armor and a utility belt. Her eyes were sharp, her face expressionless as she addressed the camera. "This is how I protect my people," the child said in a monotone voice. "I am 8 years old. I am learning how to fight. I am learning how to survive." The image shifted, showing the child firing a small firearm with expert precision, hitting a series of moving targets with deadly accuracy. She moved with the fluidity of a seasoned warrior, though her small frame made her appear out of place in the military environment. The Irians were silent. They watched as the child continued her training, moving to hand-to-hand combat drills, showing a frightening proficiency in close-quarter combat. Then came the mental exercises, strategic games, complex tactical maneuvers that required rapid thinking, decision-making under pressure. "I am ready," the child's voice echoed across the room. For a moment, no one spoke. The Irians stared at the hologram, unable to comprehend what they had just witnessed. Finally, one of the senior Irian delegates spoke, his voice trembling slightly. "Why are you training your children to fight?" he asked. "Why teach them such violence?" Reinhardt's expression darkened, and for the first time the Irians saw something in her eyes that they could not understand. There was a weight to her gaze, a sorrow that came from years of hardship. She didn't answer right away, she only stared at them for a long moment before speaking. "Because we have to. Because when we were young, we weren't given a choice. We didn't have the luxury of being naive. We didn't have the luxury of being peaceful." Her voice grew softer, but there was an edge to it that made the Irians uneasy. "You see, on Earth we didn't have the comfort of your peaceful civilizations. We had to fight to survive, and we learned that if you don't train your young, if you don't teach them to protect themselves, you don't make it. We've learned that the hard way, and now the galaxy is about to learn it too." The Irians didn't know how to respond. They had always prided themselves on their nonviolent philosophy, their belief that strength lay in understanding, in wisdom. But what they had just seen shattered that belief. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were beginning to understand why the Takor had been so insistent. Captain Reinhardt continued, her voice steady now. "You see, we've been watching the galaxy for years. We've seen the warring species, the bloodshed, the constant conflict. We know how you all operate. You fight for power, for resources, for control. But the thing you don't understand about us is this. We've already fought those wars. We've already been through the worst. And we've survived. We have adapted in ways you can't comprehend. And that's why we train our children young, to ensure that no matter what happens, no matter what we face, we are ready." The transmission ended, and a heavy silence settled over the Irian delegation. For the first time, they began to understand the depth of human resolve. The galaxy had underestimated the humans, assuming they were just another primitive species, barely out of the cradle of their own planet. But the Irians now understood something fundamental. Humanity was a species forged in the fires of adversity. They had learned to survive, to fight, to adapt, because their survival depended on it. The Irians knew that they would never be the same after this. They would have to change. to rethink everything they had believed about strength and peace. The galaxy had never seen anything like humanity before, and soon they would all learn why humans started training young, because in the harsh reality of the universe, it was the only way to survive. The galaxy had always been a place of ancient races, vast empires, and peaceful civilizations. The Takor, a race older than most species in the galaxy, had served as the neutral keepers of peace, their advanced minds guiding others in the delicate art of diplomacy. Their homeworld, Takarath, was a marvel of technology and wisdom, a place where knowledge flowed like the rivers of an eternal spring. Over time, they had learned the intricate balance required to maintain peace, knowing that war, once ignited, could destroy everything. For centuries, the galaxy had enjoyed this peace, as the various species coexisted in relative harmony. Each race had its place, its role, and its purpose. Trade routes were established, resources were shared, and the occasional squabble between two lesser races was settled through diplomacy or mild conflict. There were disagreements, of course, but no one could remember a time when those conflicts had escalated into something that threatened the stability of the galaxy as a whole. But then, everything changed. It all started with a single transmission. The Takor, whose sensors and knowledge were unmatched, had noticed something strange. The human species, once a trivial curiosity at the edge of the galaxy, had begun to stir. From their small home planet Earth, they had started to make moves toward interstellar exploration. At first, their efforts were clumsy, their ships slow and inefficient compared to the majestic vessels of the older races. Yet there was something about the humans, something that unsettled the Takor. A strange energy hummed in the air, and their records showed a disturbing trend. Humans trained their young to fight. This was information that Takor immediately processed. It wasn't just combat training, it was survival training, mental conditioning, and physical endurance from the moment a human child could walk. The Takor saw this as a disturbing sign, not just of a culture with a strange obsession with conflict, but one that was preparing for something they had no way of understanding. The children were being taught to survive in ways no other species in the galaxy had ever conceived. From their earliest years, the human young were trained to face danger head-on, to overcome insurmountable odds, and to adapt in ways that were almost unnatural. The Takor Council knew they had to act, and so they sent a message across the galaxy, one that would reverberate through every corner of the known universe. Humans are coming. They are preparing. You are not ready. The message was vague, cryptic, but it was enough to send shockwaves through the galaxy. At first, the response from other races was disbelief. The Zarniths, a race of technologically advanced beings who saw themselves as the pinnacle of evolution, laughed at the idea. Humans? What could they possibly be preparing for? They are a fledgling species, barely out of their own atmosphere. The Irians, a peaceful race known for their philosophy and art, were even more dismissive. We've observed them. They are weak. They know nothing of war or conflict. There is no reason to fear them. And yet, the Takor persisted. Their warnings grew more urgent, more insistent. You do not understand. Humans are not like any species you've encountered before. They will fight for survival, and they will not stop until they are victorious. Despite these warnings, the galaxy carried on, unconcerned, until the first human emissary arrived. It happened on Iridia, home to the Irians, where the first human delegation made its presence known. Iridia was a world of beauty and peace, a place where every individual lived in harmony with the land. The Irians had no army, no need for one. They relied on diplomacy and the universal language of art to resolve disputes. They had lived for centuries without war, and they had little understanding of what it meant to truly prepare for conflict. The Irians had always prided themselves on their pacifism, believing that the mind and the spirit were far more powerful than weapons or violence. Captain Ava Reinhardt arrived on Iridia as the representative of Earth's fledgling interstellar fleet. She had been chosen not because of her rank, but because she embodied the human spirit in its most distilled form, determined, focused, and relentless. Her training had been rigorous, as it had been for every human of her generation. She had been taught from an early age that the universe was not a kind place. It was harsh, it was unforgiving, and it demanded that humanity fight for its place in the stars. When Reinhardt arrived in Iridia's capital city, she was met with a quiet curiosity. The Irians were known for their beauty, their music, and their art, but they had no concept of military strategy, no experience with the horrors of war. The city was filled with marble spires, flowing rivers, and lush gardens. The streets hummed with soft music, and the air was filled with the scents of flowers and the sounds of laughter. To the Irians, this was a utopia, a place where conflict had no place. But Captain Reinhardt's arrival was an omen, a sign that something was about to disrupt the delicate peace that the Irians had enjoyed for so long.